everyone, my name is Gabby and today I'm going to be bringing you my fall book haul. So I've noticed over the past few months that I've started acquiring a little bit more books than usual, and a lot of that is because I've been going to a decent amount of book events. Within the past month I've went to 3 different book events thanks to Anderson's Bookshop. They are my local bookstore and they host so many amazing book events year round, and I always love going to events that catch my eye. So I ended up going to 3 different events all in October, and I managed to acquire a whole bunch of books that way, and I figured that I might as well show them off for you guys. And now looking at my haul, almost every single one of my books are signed except for one, which is ridiculous. So I'm kind of making this a signed book haul too, because I do not think that by the time the year ends I will be acquiring any more signed books. So this may be my last signed book haul for the year, so I figured that I would do it now. But also looking at this haul, I've realized that I've read a lot of the books that are going to be featured in this video already. So what I figured I would do is what I've done before on my channel, which is that in my book haul I will show off the book's signatures and I'll give you a synopsis as to what the book is about, and then in my wrap up I will talk about my thoughts on my books and the opinions and just get straight down to it rather than bothering with a synopsis again. So depending on which video you want to see, if you're looking more for synopsises or if you're looking more for my thoughts on the book, you can kind of go to whichever one you prefer. So I will have each video linked down below. In my book haul I will have my wrap up linked down below, and in my wrap up I will have my book haul linked down below, so you can check either one of those out. I believe that my book haul will be going up first and then my wrap up, but once both videos are up you can watch them in whatever order you see fit or whichever one you want to watch first. So if you want synopsises first and then you want my thoughts, or maybe you want my thoughts first and then my synopsises, you can kind of just pick and choose. So I'm sorry if that was a little bit confusing, but I figured that I would explain that to you just so that these videos aren't really long, because my videos tend to be really long because I ramble. So if I'm cutting out having to give the synopsis twice, that just makes things a little bit easier for me. So I figured that I would let you guys know that's what I was doing. But now that that's all covered, let's dive into showing off all of the amazing books I've acquired from the past few months. So the first book I have here is one that I've been talking about a lot on my channel in the past few months, and that is They Both Die at the End by Adam Silvera. So I technically already hauled this because it was in my September wrap up, but I'm hauling it again because this time it is signed. I got to go to Adam's event at Anderson's at the beginning of the month, and I got to meet him for the 3rd time, and I got my copy of They Both Die at the End signed. So I'm going to show you the signature. It says, "Gabby, stop hating me, Adam Silvera," and then he has a little dead face in the corner with the crossed out eyes, which is just so sad. So quick explanation behind that signature. I went up to Adam, and I had met him twice before already, so I don't know if he recognized me or not, but I went up to him and I told him, "Adam, I hate you. Why are you doing this to me? Stop making me cry. Stop hurting my feelings. Why are you doing this?" And basically just expressed all my frustration and anger at him about how feel-inducing and soul-crushing this book was. He found it entertaining because his books always just manage to plague me, and every single time I read another one of his books I slowly die more inside, and of course I had to express all of my emotions and feelings to him in that way. So he said for me to stop hating him, and I will never stop hating him because he's never gonna stop writing sad books. In all seriousness, I love Adam and I love all of his amazing books because they're just absolutely fantastic and so riveting every single time that I read them. And I've talked about this book plenty on my channel within the past few months. I have my review for Teen Reads linked down below if you want to go and check that out. And I have the Diversity Readers Book Club discussion that we did for They Both Die at the End linked down below as well. So if you want to see all of our spoilery thoughts, you can check that out. And if you want more non-spoilery thoughts, you can check out my Teen Reads review. For those of you that are unfamiliar with They Both Die at the End, which is definitely a shame because you should read this book, it takes place in a present-day futuristic society where a company called Deathcast exists, and their sole purpose is to call Deckers 24 hours before they're going to die to warn them of their end date. And so now they have 24 hours or less to live and get their priorities in order. So the story follows our 2 main characters, Rufus and Mateo, who meet using the Last Friend app, which is a way for Deckers to connect and be able to form friendships on their last day. And so they use this app, and the 2 of them end up living out their last day together there and going on all these adventures and doing all these things they normally would have been afraid to do. So I feel like there's nothing more that I can say about this book other than it's phenomenal and that you should read it. And I loved getting to meet Adam. I always love getting to meet Adam. So to get this book signed, to get to see Adam again was of course a treat, and I'm really glad that I got the opportunity to experience that once more. So next two books I have here are part of a duology, and that is Replica and Ringer, both by Lauren Oliver. So Lauren Oliver was at the event with Adam, and I brought my copy of Replica from home to get signed, and then I bought Ringer for the event. I have not read Ringer yet, but I have read Replica, and I really enjoyed it. The thing about this book that is really fun is that you can just pretty much read it in 90 different ways. You can read all of Lyra's chapters and then read all of Gemma's chapters. You can read all of Gemma's chapters and then read all of Lyra's chapters. You can alternate every other chapter, starting with Lyra or starting with Gemma. The possibilities are endless, and you can switch your methods halfway through. It really doesn't matter. This book is cohesive in many different ways, which I definitely think is a testament to Lauren Oliver and her amazing writing ability. I have not read any other Lauren Oliver books besides Replica, and then I will be reading Ringer very soon, but I've heard so many great things about all of her other books, and I just have not gotten an opportunity to pick them up. But I'm really glad that I got to meet Lauren Oliver. She was just such an amazing speaker and just so incredibly sweet. So for those of you that are unfamiliar with this duology, we follow our main characters Lyra and Gemma, and they both have a connection to the Haven Institute, where a group of replicas are pretty much made to be studied, and Lyra is a replica. And then eventually, once the Haven Institute comes burning down, she ends up having to leave this place and ends up coming into contact with Gemma, who is investigating the Haven Institute because of the connection that her father has to it. And so this whole story is these two girls connecting and trying to figure out the purpose of the Haven Institute, why it exists, and sort of what happened and the people behind it, and just trying to understand more about this really mysterious place that a lot of people have had an interest in finding out more about. So this is the follow-up to Replica, and it follows our two main characters, Lyra and Gemma, once again. So I really can't talk much about this second book without getting into spoilers, but I'm really excited to get to read it, and I'm really glad that I got the opportunity to get to meet Lauren Oliver. So because Lauren Oliver is amazing, she signed these books on both sides. So she signed the Lyra sides and she signed the Gemma sides. So I'm going to show you all of the signatures now. So she signed this for Gabby. Thank you for reading, and I hope you love it, Lauren Oliver. And then on the other side, she just signed it to Gabby. Then in a Ringer, she signed it for Gabby, happy reading now and forever, Lauren Oliver. And then on the Lyra side, she just signed it to Gabby. The next three books in this part of the haul all come from one signing. I attended the Fierce Reads book tour at Anderson's, and there were 4 different authors there that were signing their books. And so I got to meet 3 of them, and I have their books with me. The first author that I got to meet is Caleb Rarig, and his book is Last Seen Leaving. This was a book that I was originally not intending on picking up, and then when I went to pick up my copy of one of the books that I ordered to get a ticket for the signing, I saw this sitting there. I opened up the front cover, and I was immediately like, I need to read this book, and I did. And I'll be talking more about it in my wrap-up, but I'm very stoked to get to tell you all my thoughts and opinions because I have many. So this story follows our main character Flynn, and his girlfriend January has gone missing. And so when the cops come to investigate, Flynn sort of needs to maneuver his way out of this situation, because in order to talk about what happened between the last time that Flynn and January were together, in order to talk about that moment, Flynn would have to reveal that he is gay, and that's something that he's having a little bit of trouble dealing with, and through a lot of the book he kind of denies that. And so he sort of maneuvers his way around the cops, isn't exactly honest about what happened that night, and so he decides to investigate for himself what happened to his girlfriend, and this whole story is him finding out that there's more about his girlfriend that he didn't understand, and him trying to get inside her head and what was happening that caused her to be so different than what he thought he knew about her. And while going on this journey, starting to learn to accept his sexuality and learning to come out about that, and maybe possibly that being an option for him rather than having to hide. So this is a story of him not only confronting his own identity, but in confronting his girlfriend's identity as well. The big question is, what happened to January? Is she still alive? Is she dead? How did what happened to her happen to her? Who is responsible? And it's this amazing contemporary thriller mystery that keeps you guessing until the very end. I absolutely loved it, and I loved getting to meet Caleb because he was so precious and hilarious, and I've absolutely fallen in love with his books. And he has a new book, White Rabbit, that is coming out next spring that I am super pumped about. So you'll definitely be hearing me talk more about that as it gets closer to the release date. But to show you my signature inside of Last Seen Leaving, Caleb signed it and it says, "Gabby, into the darkness you go, Caleb Rarig." I am so glad that I got to pick this book up. It was absolutely amazing and everything I could have wanted and more. So before I even dive into my wrap up, you guys just need to go and read this book. It takes place around Halloween, so if you're in the fall mood still, this is a perfect book to pick up. You all are gonna love it. So the next book that I have here that was a part of the Fierce Reads tour is Moxie by Jen Mateu. So this book is being adapted into a movie with Amy Poehler as producer, which is absolutely insane. And so of course, obviously I went to this event because I was hearing so many amazing things about this book and I needed to pick it up for myself and meet Jen, and I did. And I found out, which is something that I was like not expecting at all, but these things just always managed to happen to me, that my aunt actually went to college with Jen and they were in the same sorority, and my aunt was a year younger than Jen, so I think they knew each other, and it's just insane. You can actually see this conversation that I have with Jen go down on my Instagram. I posted a picture from the Fierce Reads tour and some of the pictures that I got with the authors that I met. You can see the conversation between us go down in the comment section where I actually find all of this out because my aunt texted me that, and so I asked her, and I think they both remember each other, and it's just really cool and just sort of like blew my mind. So it kind of just made the experience all a little bit more memorable. So then Jen signed my copy of Moxie, and it says, "To Gabby, Moxie Girls Fight Back, XO Jen Mateu," and it's written in this beautiful pink Sharpie, which I absolutely love because it just matches the book so well. So this story follows our main character, Vivian, and she is fed up with her high school, East Rockport. What she notices as she goes to school each day is that the dress code is really sexist, and the fact that girls are being targeted for the clothing that they're wearing, but guys are wearing really inappropriate graphic t-shirts and they're not getting in trouble at all. The fact that the way that the school distributes their money is a little bit unfair because all of the guys' sports, specifically the guys' football team, is getting a lot of money and a lot of funding, and girls' sports like the girls' soccer team really is not getting any money or support. The fact that guys are behaving inappropriately and they're not getting targeted at all is another big issue, and so she's fed up with the way that her school is behaving and the way that her school is favoring men over women in the way that they behave, and they're not handling these situations properly, that she creates these signs that she ends up entitling Moxie and ends up putting them anonymously in the girls' bathroom throughout her high school, and this whole entire thing starts to blow up and starts to create, in a way, this little mini revolution at her school where all of these girls start to team up and want to fight back against the system and want to make change, and it's her sort of having to hide in the shadows and be the secret face behind this while this entire event and this entire idea starts to sort of grow bigger and bigger, and more girls start to get involved, and it becomes not only her running this but all of these girls that decide that Moxie is a part of them, and it's just beautiful story of girl power and fighting back and standing up for what is right. And I read this book so many times. I was smiling, I was crying, I was just angry, and it was just a phenomenal read because it really impacted me, and I'm so glad that I got to read this book, that I got to meet Jen. It was just phenomenal and an absolutely amazing experience, and I'm glad that I picked this one up for sure. So I'm really glad that I heard about this book from all of you out there on BookTube and on Book Twitter and Bookstagram, because if it weren't for all of your encouragements and seeing this book everywhere, I would not have picked it up and had the experience that I did with it. So I'm really glad that I had that experience because of all of you. So next book that I have here is Wild Beauty by Anna Marie Micklemore. Anne Marie was at the Fierce Reads tour, but I did not get to meet her and get my book signed because I did not have the money to buy Wild Beauty, but I really did want to buy it. But thankfully enough, this was the October Owl Crate Book of the Month, so now I was able to get my hands on Wild Beauty with a gorgeous exclusive cover, which I am incredibly excited to own. And I did get to meet Anne Marie. She signed my journal that I have that I bring with me to book signings and events, so I did get to meet her and talk with her very briefly and talk a little bit about how I'm in Spanish National Honor Society and how I was excited to read her book, even though I couldn't get my hands on it at the moment. So I'm glad now that I have this book in my hands and I'm really excited to get into it. So this story follows a group of girls that have this sort of curse put upon them where every time they fall in love with someone too deeply, that love disappears. And so when this boy appears suddenly out of nowhere, all of these girls sort of have to deal with this new situation that's been put in front of them. So that was a very horrible synopsis, but just whenever I read the inside cover of this book, I always just get really confused because I feel like there's lots of things going on, and this is one of those books that I feel like you need to really read to understand a little bit more because it has a little bit of like folklore and mythology and some sort of like backgrounds and things behind it, some different origins that you're probably just going to understand better reading the book than you are just getting it from a synopsis. So once I do read this book, I will definitely tell you guys more about it because the last two times that I've tried to give a good synopsis for this book, once in the Owl Crate unboxing and my second time now, it just hasn't been very good. So once I read this book, I'll definitely be coming at you with more information, but I'm really glad that I was able to get my hands on this and that I was able to meet Anne-Marie at the Fierce Reads tour. So the next book I have here, I actually have two copies of, and that is Turtles All the Way Down by John Green. So I have one copy that is the Barnes & Noble copy that I pre-ordered that is signed, and then the other copy that I have I got from Anderson's when I went to John Green's stop on his Turtles All the Way Down tour with Hank Green. So this event was absolutely amazing. I had so much fun getting to see John and Hank Green, get to hear them speak. I got to go with one of my friends, Emily, and I got to see Tiernan the booktuber, and we got to hang out, and we went to Starbucks afterwards, and it was just so much fun and such a highlight of my month. This is a book that I've been so pumped about since it was first announced at the end of June at VidCon, and now I have my hands on it, and I have two signed copies, which is insane. I'm thinking about maybe possibly giving one away. Kind of sort of depends on if there's going to be enough people that participate, because I've tried to do giveaways in the past. No one has really entered, and at that point it's kind of not worth it to host a giveaway. So if you do want to see a giveaway, let me know and I'd be willing to give away one of these copies, but if not, I'm not going to bother if nobody's going to enter. So this story follows our main character, Aza, and she has OCD, and it sort of comes in the form of thought spirals. So hers sort of has to deal with bacteria, and she has this callus on her finger, and the whole story is her sort of just freaking out about the bacteria and things that could infect this open wound that she has on her finger that she constantly opens and reopens because she wants to bleed it out and she wants to disinfect it. And this starts to become so damaging to her that it ends up leading to some very serious consequences. So while all of that is going on, she's trying to deal with her mental health and all these spirals and things that are happening inside her head. She comes into contact with an old friend whose father has gone missing, and he is very, very wealthy, and so his father's disappearance obviously has a lot of people questioning what's going on, and Aza and her friend want to sort of investigate what happened to this kid's father, but then also because Aza starts to develop a relationship with this kid, she doesn't want to pry into his business because she knew him growing up, and because with her starting to develop this relationship with him, she feels like that would just be wrong. So it's her sort of debating as to whether she wants to solve this mystery, whether she doesn't, and sort of her also solving her own problems. This book is fantastic. It's everything that I would have wanted out of a John Green novel and more, and I'm incredibly excited to get to discuss it with you guys, not only in my wrap-up, but in the Diversity Readers live show. Turtles All the Way Down is our October book. We are going to be discussing it the weekend of Thanksgiving, that Saturday, November 25th at 8 p.m. Eastern on my channel. So if you guys want to go and check that out, you should. Make sure you go and pick up Turtles All the Way Down and read along with us, and then come and join the live show and ask lots of amazing questions like you always do. I'm really glad that I was able to pick these two books up and attend John Green's event. It was so much fun, and I'm just going to show you one of the signatures in the books because they're both pretty much exactly the same, except one's in green Sharpie and one is in red. So this is the Barnes & Noble copy, and it's just John Green's signature in a red Sharpie. So that was all of the books from different book events that I've went to, but now I have a few other signed books that came into my possession through trades and signed stock at Anderson. So these first two books are actually by the same author. The first is The Language of Thorns, Midnight Tales and Dangerous Magic by Leigh Bardugo. So this is a collection of short stories that have to do with the Grisha world, and they pretty much all have different origins from all the different places within the Grisha world that Leigh Bardugo has created. So there is one Zamini story, 3 Ravkin stories, 1 Kurd story, and 1 Fijirdan story, and those are sort of all of the different locations that make make up the Grisha world that Leigh Bardugo has created, and these are all sort of folk stories and origin stories that would be told in those countries. The thing about this book is so fantastic is not only is it incredibly eerie and very dark and feels like a perfect fall book because of that eeriness, but the book itself is just gorgeous. Leigh Bardugo is just blessed by the cover gods. Every single one of her covers are absolutely amazing. The fun thing about this book is it has this like gorgeous blue color and this gold color, and it just feels amazing. I just love like the feel of the book. It has a very nice cover, and then you open up the book and you have all of these amazing illustrations that all build on each other as you start to read the story. So this is sort of them like unbuilding upon each other because I'm turning the pages in the opposite direction, but it's just so gorgeous. And the illustrations make up so much of the story and just make it so unique and so much fun to read, and the text is also in color. So there's a lot of really fun things about this book that make it worth reading, including Leigh Bardugo's amazing writing style. So this book is signed. It just has Leigh Bardugo's signature in a gold script. But the fun thing about this is that I was not anticipating this book to be signed. I picked it up, I didn't know that it was signed, and after I finished reading it, I opened the book and saw that it was signed, and I like freaked out because I wasn't anticipating that at all. But Leigh Bardugo did an event at Anderson's for Wonder Woman / Language of Thorns, and so they had signed stocked, and I was able to pick this baby up, and it is signed in this gorgeous gold Sharpie. And now I also have a book plate that has Leigh Bardugo's signature on it from Crooked Kingdom when they had the pre-order offer. I thought that I never got my pre-order offer. I put in my receipt from when I went to the Crooked Kingdom book launch at Anderson's, and I never got it in the mail, and then like a year later my mom gives it to me and says, oh, I got this in the mail. It was under my bed. I don't know how that happened. And so now I decided to put the signed book plate in here, so now the book is signed twice. So next book I have here is also by Leigh Bardugo, and that is Wonder Woman Warbringer. So I had to pick this book up because of course I love Leigh Bardugo and I will read anything that she writes. I really don't know much about this book other than of course that it follows Wonder Woman, and I did not actually get to see the Wonder Woman movie. I was in New York when it came out, and then by the time I get back I just never got around to watching it. I planned on it though, and then I just never did, even though it looked absolutely amazing. So I do want to get to watch it at some point. I think I may read Warbringer first and then possibly watch the movie, even though that I know it's not like a book to movie adaptation and all, and it's not like I need to read this at all to watch the movie, but still I think I may want to do that. I'm not a big superhero person. It's just never really been my thing. I really never got into like Batman or Superman or Spider-Man or The Flash or like whatever. It's not entirely like my ballpark, but I wanted to read this of course because I know Leigh Bardugo is an amazing author, but because it just seems so different from anything that I would have expected her to write in the past. Usually with her writing I'm used to more like fantasy stories that are really dark and really eerie, and this seems like it's going to be a little bit more of a contemporary-ish story, but definitely feels like it's going to be a very badass feminist-based story that deals with girl power and fighting back, and I'm just really pumped to get to read it. I don't know much about this book other than the fact that it's centered around Wonder Woman, so I'm interested to see what happens, and I'm excited for the surprise in store that Leigh Bardugo will contain within her amazing writing. So this book is of course signed by Leigh Bardugo, who was a part of Anderson's stock of signed books when she came here for her event, so I had to pick up this as well, and I'm really glad that it's signed, and I'm really excited to get to give it a read. So the final signed book I have here is actually an ARC, and that is Zenith by Sasha Ellsberg and Lindsay Cummings. So this does not come out until January 16th, 2018, but I was able to trade my ARC of The Cruel Prince for Zenith thanks to Marissa over at Marissa Reads on Twitter. So thank you so much for trading with me, Marissa, because I've been dying to get my hands on this book for forever, and now I finally have my hands on it. I get to read it early, and this is everything I could have ever wanted it more, because I really wanted to get this ARC while it was at BookCon. I couldn't get my hands on it because the line capped, and now I was able to trade with Marissa, and I'm reading this book now, and I absolutely love it, and I'm so happy and so blessed and so grateful that I was able to get my hands on this. So thank you so much, Marissa, for trading with me. I just could not be more happy that I now have this book in my possession. So this is a book that is told from several different points of view. We follow our main character, Andromeda, and her group of female space pirates as they orbit the galaxy and go on heists and be super shady and dark and absolutely amazing. When the girls get into a bind and are put into a situation that brings them back into their past and their lives before they teamed up as a crew, it's them sort of dealing with these new issues that have been presented in front of them and having having to handle it while there's some shady evil people that are doing some shady things, and them having to find out about said shady things and take on said shady things. That was a horrible synopsis, but like, female space pirates and epicness. Like, what much more could you want? And so this arc is signed by both Sasha and Lindsay, which makes it even more exciting and is so much more worth the trade. So thank you so much, Marissa, for trading with me. I'm reading this book now and I'm absolutely loving it, and I'm really excited to get to tell you guys more once I finish it. So the final book I have here is a semi-definitive list of worst nightmares by Crystal Sutherland. So this book is not signed, but I found it at Anderson's and I needed to get it because I absolutely loved Our Chemical Hearts, which was Crystal's first release, and I got to meet Crystal last year at Anderson's YA Fandom Frenzy. I got that book signed, and I found out then about a semi-definitive list of worst nightmares, and I absolutely, of course, wanted to get my hands on it the minute that it came out. So this story follows our main character, Esther, and her family has pretty much been put under a curse that says that their ultimate fear will be the one thing that kills them. And so all of Esther's family members, her father is agoraphobic, so he's been in the basement for the past few years. Her brother's afraid of the dark, and so he now cannot sleep without lights on. Her mother has a gambling problem and pretty much is just wasted away a lot of their money because she has this compulsion that keeps drawing her to slots and to gambling. Esther has not found her great fear yet, the one thing that's going to kill her. And so she's created this list of a semi-definitive list of worst nightmares, and every time she comes into contact with something that could possibly give her a panic attack or possibly scare her, she writes it down and avoids it so that she'll never find her great fear. She'll never find that thing that kills her. But when she comes into contact with Jonah, a kid from her past that she was really close to, they end up taking on the semi-definitive list of worst nightmares and going through each thing that Esther's afraid of and taking it head on in order to sort of meet death and break this curse in order to save her family. And when she meets Jonah, the thing that's really funny is he ends up swindling her, and then this causes her to go into this whole challenge. It's just a lot of fun. I am really glad I got to pick this book up. Again, it was another one of the books that I read this month, and it was absolutely amazing. I love the characters, I love the story behind it, I love the message, and I'm so glad that I picked this book up, and I'm excited to talk about it more in my wrap up. So that's about it for my October fall book haul. This video was a lot longer than I wanted it to be. I don't know what happens, but whenever I go and show off signed books, I just start to ramble about how amazing they are, and I can't stop myself. So I apologize for that, but if I have the opportunity to talk about books that I really love, of course I will babble for ages. So if you want to let me know a book that you've picked up this month that you're really excited about, whether you've read it already or going to be reading it very soon, let me know. That being said, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you next time with a new video. Goodbye!
Wildflowers don't care where they grow.